Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering you the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And finally, check out our new Alter Sleeves. Get your custom sleeve image of the Magic Mics crew at altersleeves.com/magicmics. And you can get your own that looks just like this. Hey, check out an Alter Sleeve. Hey, check it out. Isn't it cool?
Boom.
Aaron can threaten to stab you too, right there. Just goes right on any card
I've
you would like to put on it.
certainly killed people for less.
Very, very cool. And for those who sponsored us, you know, the patrons for $10 and up for last month are going to get a code for a free Alter Sleeve, and that's really
right.
awesome. So thank you so much for that as well. And Alter Sleeves, of course, for being sponsors of the show. Let's go ahead and get started here with our first pick and giveaway. Well, I was going to say I'm Evan Earl, but y'all know that. Anyway.
Wow.
We start each week by saying hello to our
Flex.
two co-hosts. I know, right? My name's right there. By saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
How's it going, everybody?
Ruben Bressler.
They know that.
They know.
They know that it's me.
It's a name right underneath your face. It's fine. Unless they're listening to us, which in case, how you doing? Get your chance at a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win. And don't forget our raid at the end of the show to support a member of the community. Enter your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight.
That's right.
Because we have, again, another good example of why if we did this on Thursdays, we'd probably be talking about some sizzling hot, some fresh off the pan, some news that you just could not get enough of. And now we've kind of had 6 days to talk about it.
We really
Yeah.
do have to have a long conversation with you, the audience, as well as the three of us, of if we should move this show to Thursdays, because they do their show, they do their Wizards Update show
On
Thursday
Thursdays.
mornings.
Yeah.
And we're 6 days later at this point.
Right.
So a lot of the discourse that you would expect from a show like ours has already occurred. When we founded this show and put it on Wednesdays, they weren't streaming on Thursdays yet. So we didn't have that problem.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk about the thing that has already been well talked about for those who care enough I can imagine, which is Warhammer 40K and Lord of the Rings are getting expansions. Warhammer is going to get Commander decks. Lord of the Rings is going to get some amount of release. These are not, as I understand it, to be standard sets or standard legal. They're going to be like conspiracy sets where they're legal in Legacy and beyond. So who knows what Gandalf is going to do in Vintage? We're not sure.
Right.
Warhammer decks, what those things are going to be and how much money they're going to be worth, I don't know.
You have to roll 15d6
That's right.
in order to do something.
To play your commander or whatever. You only have 600 points in your commander deck, whatever that's supposed to mean too.
And it has to be at least 7 inches away from the rest of your cards.
Yeah. So,
Aaron, please.
I'm not saying that
7 inches is a fine distance. Let me just say.
2 things happened last year. Christopher Tolkien died. And the Lord of the Rings living card game stopped being made by Fantasy Flight. And suddenly, we have Middle Earth Enterprises, formerly Tolkien Enterprises, giving Wizards access to certain works by Tolkien, including The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogy characters, and that's going to be pretty insane. This was all wrapped into Hasbro's investor call last Thursday, and let me tell you, it was pretty exciting to talk about Wizards' growth and how they basically crushed it in the past year. We're talking Magic grew 23% last year. Let me explain to you how organized play died, and it grew 23%. That's a lot. And D&D, Rubes, 33% growth. That's incredible.
Roof.
That's incredible.
You want to talk about stonks?
Yeah.
Like D&D and I mean the role-playing game industry in general, especially D&D because they were in a position to catch the wave.
Right.
33% growth? Are you kidding me? That's a huge amount of
That's
a company that's been around for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So that was absolutely incredible. And so this is Wizards basically saying, look, the thing that we did with The Walking Dead, and they had the little triangle, hollow thing at the bottom, that's going to kind of be the norm. Yes, they could have made purple borders or whatever, but at the end of the day, we already have gods and squirrels getting into vehicles, throwing stuff at people. Like, is it really that crazy to think that other fantasy properties can hang out in Magic? probably not at this point. And the other half is like, look, we've talked about this. We've, if not warned, we've at least explained. Like, there's a point where Hasbro goes, wait a minute, why aren't we doing to Magic the Gathering what we've done to Monopoly and made tons and tons and tons of money, which is to try to get as many properties as you can integrated into this one game system. The first time I've ever heard them describe Magic the Gathering as a game system and be able to warp it around a different property. I mean, I do expect there to be, you know, Batman Commander decks before it's over, and Marvel Universe, you know, releases or whatever. And I mean, the Infinity War release.
Whatever other IPs Hasbro can get their hands on, they're going to funnel to Wizards of the Coast because, you know, it's been a proven business model now, especially with Walking Dead, that Wizards can turn that into real American cash dollars as simply as putting them on Magic cards. Like, they don't have to do anything spectacular.
Nope.
They can just be like, here is a piece of cardboard that looks like a Magic card that has your favorite, you know, things on it.
Right. I mean, I'm excited to see what Gandalf does. I want to know what the One Ring does. I'm curious what Warhammer 40K is supposed to look like with the crazy, you know, chain machine gun things or whatever. Like, that's really cool to me. And I've never had issues with this. I've always, you know, said this is the way we should be doing it for a long time. I understand it's controversial, but at the same time, I just like Magic. I like Magic in all forms. I like the Star Wars The Gathering thing that people did. I made a video about it years ago. You know, this is all stuff we've been kind of wanting to see, or some people have been wanting to see for a very long time.
I think that it's kind of inevitable that this would happen. You know, they were leaving money on the table. I think other IPs saw how popular trading card games and Magic in particular were becoming, and they knew that crossover IPs were just a thing that happens. And for an old hat like me to be like, I don't really want, you know, Batman on a Magic card, or I don't really want Rick Steadfast Leader on a Magic card. You know, I may not want it, but I also want Magic to survive as a game and as a company. And if this is the way that it continues to make money, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was my takeaway from this too, is that, you know, we are in an echo chamber, whether we like it or not. And it's when we see the outrage on Reddit and Twitter, and we just assume that everybody feels that way. And when you look at these reports, you look at these results, there is clearly an audience for this out there. These products are clearly doing what they need to do. And, you know, at this point, Wizards has really shown us that it's really about the money at this point. And the only thing that's really going to stop this flow of products is if something fails catastrophically. But as long as things keep selling, and as long as the business model is set up in such a way to really pad them from failure, which is something I've talked about before, that they've really set themselves up to be, it's hard for them to fail at this point, where, you know, even if one product doesn't work out, there's three others that are sure to recoup that. And so they've really hammered home that it is about the dollars at this point, and what they're doing is working. So there's no incentive for them to stop at this point.
Like, at this point, Wizards is no longer a subsidiary of Hasbro. They are a division of Hasbro. They have been completely enveloped as a company. Now, this doesn't change anything for Magic, I'm guessing, for D&D either. But the point is, the way the company is structured and sort of viewed, and the way that all of the digital licensing is apparently going through Wizards of the Coast moving forward, that's another big thing. Like, this investor call thing was one of the, like, strangest things I'd ever seen. It went on for hours. They went through every single, like, step of the company and how E1 was going to bring more Peppa Pig, and then we have one other half of the company that's making like all the toys for Power Rangers and all this other crap. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. But in the middle of it, it was Wizards has been crushing it. And one of the things they got in trouble for was they said they're going to move on beyond the 7,000 WPN stores.
Saw that.
Oh boy, you should have seen the retailer forums and Facebook. They were hot. It was not good.
They had the post.
I believe it.
I think.
They came back with a mea culpa.
Hipsters of the Coast had covered the tweet, or covered the statement about moving on from the stores, and then somebody from Wizards, one of their communication heads, was like, we need to clarify that, you know, we still very much support our stores. We are just looking to expand and include them in that, but just expand beyond the stores. But yeah, that was the most incendiary thing that I saw from the call, was that of just like, we knew it, they're off to kill stores, and like that did not go over well.
I mean, it's tough to be like, it's a bad business decision given our current C word that we don't say, but everyone, is inside because of, to be like, yeah, the local game stores are the lifeblood of the Magic economy.
The way that
from a Wizards Hasbro standpoint, I mean,
well, the way that I took that is that the way I felt, the way it kind of came off was WPN sort of the stores or whatever over the past year have not really grown. Okay, they've probably done about the same, maybe a little bit better, but more or less the same.
This is pre-pandemic, right? Because you can't judge them based on 2020.
Right. Well, this is they're talking about the 2020 results, right? So the 2020 financials essentially, and so they're saying like our digital side crushed it, and the paper side. Get okay. But so if they're moving beyond those stores, which maybe, they're looking at basically digital money, paper money's still there. Paper's probably still the majority of their business. It's just that digital did so crazy well over the past year that it, went above and beyond. I don't know. I wasn't there, but that's just the way I took it.
But people also didn't have a choice. Like, I think there's some context missing from that where, you can say that digital crushed it because people were staying at home because that's what they needed to do. Where I think it'd be one thing if both sides were playing on an even field where, everybody had the same access to game stores like in 2019 and everybody had access to the same online. Right. I think it might be a more fair comparison to say, digital crushed it, but we can't go to stores or we shouldn't be going to stores.
No,
so it's really easy to say that when you slap them in the knee and they can't walk.
But here's the thing, and here's the thing that blew my mind the most, and the way that has changed my mind the most over the past year, which is all of this happened and sales increased. All of this happened. All of the paper stuff sold out. Jumpstart, you still couldn't find any for the whole year. Commander Legends sold out. Everything they made sold out. Everything they made has sold. Townsfolk Remastered right now, selling out. Nothing has had a problem selling.
Well, I think there's a couple things that explain that. I mean, obviously there's been a shift towards Commander. And so the cards that people were buying, webcam Commander was huge. I don't know anybody who bought a webcam to play Modern. So people were playing just as much Magic, if not more, through the webcams. These products were aimed at Commander players. Also, the pre-releases were really easy to do from home as well with either your quarantine or your family or your partner. My boyfriend and I, we were buying pre-release kits every set. I can't remember the last time I've gone to a store and did a pre-release, but when you have nothing else to do, pre-release kits look really, really attractive. And you had these dual pre-con Commander decks, like the $20 Rogue deck that came out with the equipment deck. That was another great thing that you could pick up for two people, stay at home, be safe, and play Magic. And so, again, I think it's a case of the kinds of products that were being released last year, the circumstances that made them ripe for the playing. And so, it's no accident.
Right. In 2020, they did $920 million of revenue. That's not profit. That's just all the money that came in. That's a lot.
That's a huge number.
Up 24% year over year, 13% 10-year annual growth rate, 19% of the last 3 years average growth, which is insane. Up 400% operating profit over 10 years. Those collector boosters, set boosters, which give you less booster packs, the foils and the non-foils in them don't cost any more to make. Double Masters packs don't cost double Masters to make. It's just the same amount of cardboard and the same amount of foil printing. And yet, they've made more and more expensive products. They've made more exclusive products with secret layers, of course, and those things have done great. And it's not like none of this is inherently evil. This is a business taking advantage of creating collectibles. That's what they do. That's their whole business model. So I'm not mad at Wizards. I'm just like I just want to know that this is what's happening. Be aware it's happening, and that it's not terrible. It's just what's going on.
And it also is what it is at this point. Like, Wizards has been very clear about what their goal is right now. And so you can certainly not like it, but at this point, it's not going to change. And so if this is all something that's not your bag, I hate to say it, but you really just need to get up. No, I don't want to say get off the bus, but I think people keep hoping it's going to turn around, or they keep hoping that, Wizards is going to come forward and be like, psych, this was all just a joke or whatever. This is who they are now. Yep. And you are either in it for what it is or
not.
I don't want to say that, but
and there are people who I've seen who are lifetime Magic people who are like, Magic's not for me anymore. I saw a tweet from Ricky Hayashi that was like, 20 decisions in a row that I'm not on board with, maybe Magic's not for me anymore. And that's fine.
things change, I totally understand. And, Magic is very much like a shark. It has to keep going. It has to keep moving. It has to keep changing. It has to keep challenging itself. Like, I one of the things that would make me very, very concerned is if Mark was no longer the head designer, because then I would be afraid that maybe they're not going to push as hard as Mark does. Mark always wants to do something new, always tries for something different, even if it's crazy, even if it's wacky, even if it sometimes breaks the game. Oops, companions. It's fine. We'll fix it because at least we tried something new.
I would be worried if Mark was forced out.
Sure, that would be very concerning. I agree with you. That said, Wizards also has a brand new logo. If you haven't seen it, it's so stupid. It's purple and
it's very
shiny.
Doctor Who.
It looks like the Incredibles logo.
Yeah, it's
I'm not on board with it, but like whatever. They needed to change it to something else, I guess. So because now they're a division instead of a subsidiary, which by the way means that I think they get more freedom, but they also get more support. As not being a subsidiary. But yeah, this logo is very stupid.
Yeah, I mean, the logo is fine. I mean, I wasn't expecting the old one to live forever anyway, but I wasn't expecting the Doctor Who treatment either, but okay. It's an A with a shiny door in the middle of it. I guess that's
I think it's
changing.
a W with a shiny door in the middle of it.
Oh, well, I mean... Well, if you're looking at the one letter thing, yes. I'm talking about the whole logo.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Sure.
All right. So anyway, Universes versus Beyond's a thing. It's going to happen. They got a new logo. They got a new look. They stepped in some dog poop. They got out of it. We're going to move on here to gather in the Townsfolk because it's time to talk about Time Spiral Remastered. Ooh. Time Spiral Remastered is the first of what I am guessing are going to be many remastered products. Mm-hmm. This thing is sold out at the distributor level. Boxes are already like 200, 210 plus.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Oh yeah, and the like we haven't even seen if Sliver Legion is in the product yet, and we're like as of this recording, we haven't seen the artifacts, the lands, and the multicolor stuff, which is where a lot of the value is in the product. So if Academy Ruins and Friends and Vesuvas and whatever in there, that's
Horizon
very important.
Canopy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this set. I've said it before. I like Wizards when they let their hair down, and we've got Storm in this set. We've got Dredge in this set. We have Madness in this set. We have Flashback in this set. Mm-hmm. They're just giving it to us, and I think that's amazing. And they've also done a good job of identifying the cards that are going to see play in older formats, because those are the players particularly that will never pay for a modern frame card. But if you put something in an old border, they're going to open those wallets. And they know that. They've given us Ponder and Paradoxical Outcome and Treasure Cruise and Chalice of the Void. And that's that audience that's going to eat that up.
They gave us the tiny gravestone in the corner, which makes me so happy. I saw that Lingering Souls, and then I was like, wait a second, is that the
inhumane
gravestone?
Noise that I made when that Stinkweed Imp got previewed? Ooh. I was just... and heavens. Wizards, call me. Like, I am here. I'll even preview
you got
the
added. You did get added,
but I am here for your preview needs. If you have a graveyard enabler, I'll even preview your next containment prees. Like, call me. My drone lines are open.
It was one of the notably strangest preview seasons in that so many outlets got like 3 to like 7 cards.
Everyone that got previews had 1 million previews.
Yeah.
And they were all consolidated. I like doing it by color. I liked the white day, blue day, black day, etc. Today was green day.
Well, every day is white day.
Welcome to paradise.
Oh, wow.
But I really enjoyed how they
John
Prime,
did thank you for the subs.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, we have over here, we have the new Eternal Witness artwork in the old frame, Thragtusk in the old frame. I mean, seriously.
God.
There was lots to love about this young Pyromancer. Come on.
The young Pyromancer is nice. I love the new art for my monkey boy. Unfortunately, I can't play my monkey boy anymore.
Yeah.
But
he got downshifted to common though, so hey, Popper.
So back to common. No, he was originally
Blast.
printed in Planar Chaos as a common.
Are you sure?
The Itali?
I am positive that he was originally.
Lava Spike, Ruben, look at that.
Lava Spike in the old border
Kiki
is very
Jiki.
nice. There are some cards that you look at them and you go, yeah, that should be in an old border. Like
Alesha.
I look at that Dreadhorde Arcanist, speaking of things that you can't play anymore, and I go, that should be in an old border. Like, that just looks better in an old border.
There's my baby.
Stinkweed Imp with the little gravestone in the corner. Oh my god, that's so cool. Now look, I understand they wanted to have a theme of mythic suspend spells, but when Pact of Negation is $25 and Ancestral Vision is $4 and Pact Negation's rare and Vision's mythic, that's just weird. I don't I don't always get that.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Pact sees more play than Vision. I mean,
it does.
The Belcher, the broken combo decks love Pact, and
I mean, Yawgmoth in the old frame. Come on, this whole thing. And and here's Thoughtseize. This Thoughtseize foil, like
it's going to be $1 billion.
From the people that I've spoken to about it, they say that the floor, like where they start, is probably 150, and that it literally just goes up from there. And it could be 300, 400 plus. The foils in this, the foil time-shifted cards, because they're only one sheet of them, because they're all the same rarity, and because it's that hard to get them, the math is kind of insane. Basically, the foils appear once every 27 packs. That's 1.5 times more rare than rares. So with 121 cards on the sheet, one foil sheet represents 3,267 packs. That's 91 boxes. You have to open 91 boxes to get one Thoughtseize foil, guaranteed, basically, based on the ratios.
Yeah, but if you did that math for any other set, it would be guaranteed one of any other Mythic foil for like 40 boxes.
For 60 boxes is the normal.
60 boxes.
Yes.
So 1.5 times.
Exactly.
It's still a ridiculous number, and they're still going to be crazy expensive.
Right, but again, also note there's no collector packs for this one. That's what drove down the foil prices big time. No collector packs, no Magic Online redemptions. This is just what you're going to get out of the packs. So if you were to be blessed to open a time-shifted foil, I would suggest you hold on to it for at the very least a month or two to see what happens, because they're going to go absolutely insane. Those things are going to be crazy, crazy expensive. And again, this is great. This points to me just points to another successful product. I want to see Innistrad done next. I want to see Ravnica, the OG Ravnica block. I mean, dude, let's go. I'm ready to go back and just mine that nostalgia. Get the sweet reprints in there. Get the awesome nostalgia of those formats that you don't get to play anymore. It's all in one package. I absolutely love it. This is terrific.
Yep.
So good product, good idea.
Yeah.
Crazy expensive foils. I guess
really
that's what we got to deal with.
Delivery as well. Other than I see the issue with the old bordered Centaur Courser, or what's that card called?
Oh, the
Courser Crufix.
Courser Crufix.
Because it's an enchantment
creature. I get
creature.
it, because it's an enchantment creature, and they didn't change the border, and Sam Black wrote a little bit about that.
Right.
I get it.
But, really, is that the hill to die on? Is that because it doesn't look like the enchantment creatures? It's supposed to be the old border. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. So, I don't know. That seems a little odd.
I understand. Look, I understand the complaint. I understand why they didn't change it. So, like, I can see both sides on that one. And, of course, we have some artists we don't talk about anymore having art in the set.
But that's because the set was finalized before things changed, and that's just how it is.
Yep.
But either way,
all in all, this is just a home run. I love it.
Absolutely terrific. So we did go to Gather the Townsfolk when we were talking about that, but I didn't change us now, so who cares? Tulare Community College.
Professional podcast.
We're trying here, okay? It's 2021.
The listeners don't know. The listeners don't know.
It's almost the anniversary of me never going back to work again. It's fine, whatever. Look, Tulare Community College worked to fundraise for the Trans Lifeline over the past week. The last actually 3 or 4 days there, and they did a hell of a job. Erin, tell us about it.
Yeah, so last week there was a lot of transphobia in the news. You had Rand Paul grilling Dr. Rachel Levine, who was in her, she was in a panel or a, what is it? It
was a confirmation hearing, right?
Thank you, confirmation hearing. And so you had Rand Paul in the news for being a dumbass, and you had, there's been a debate over trans athletes in schools, and there were some dumbass comments on Twitter about, like, trans people are erasing lesbians. And so there was just a whole bunch, it was just a week of transphobia. Like, it was just a really dark week if you were trans. And so the professor decided that he was going to, he did one before, he was going to do another charity run for Trans Lifeline, which is an organization that you can call in and talk to somebody if you need to. They also help people change their legal documents as well, which is really useful and really helpful. And he did the same thing he did last time, where he initially started with a couple boxes, I believe, and then people from the community chipped in other items as well, myself included. And before we knew it, we'd ended up on Forbes' gaming section. There was an article written about us, even though he did spell my name wrong. It's Campbell with a P, but I appreciate the gesture. And over the weekend, they raised over $200,000, which the Trans Lifeline said is enough to fund their entire Spanish wing for over a year. And so this was just really, really incredible. The Magic community really, really showed out. It even transcended the Magic community. There were even like large gaming personalities that saw this and contributed, and just everything. I mean, you had pre-cons and singles and anything, alters, and just everything was up for grabs, and people just really showed out. And so even though there was a lot of darkness in the world, there was some really nice counter programming to that.
Right. He so Cool Stuff got involved as well. We threw in 4 Kaldheim collector booster boxes, which was great. Again, ultimately we got to the total of $215,442. That was amazing. Like this is like awesome, life-changing stuff that we get to be proud to be a part of and whatnot. And I would just one little tiny weird thing, just a smidge. Look, Wizards, I know you have your reasons. I'm sure you do. You're really smart, cool, awesome people in a cool company. Couldn't have given us a retweet. Couldn't have said anything about this fundraiser one thing at all. Not gonna harp on it. I just want to note I saw that. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. You do you. It's whatever. But I noticed.
Is it just a grudge against the professor because he has more YouTube followers?
Exactly, right? Like, it just seems so weird. Like, aren't we all in this for happy, positive outcomes?
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, moving on. Desperate Ravens, speaking of Ravens, there was a pro league this past weekend, and the players, well, I mean, there was. God bless the pros that are involved. They're all wonderful, awesome players. I love them to death. I don't care about the MPL. I just, I want to watch you tap lands. I want to watch you slam down cards. I want to watch you pick cards from drafts. I want you shuffle up your deck and all this stuff. And that moment of visceral excitement when you win the tournament and that type of stuff. But watching you in a webcam.
And you also won't know they won until 10 minutes
on
later. Because they're all streaming on a 10-minute delay.
Right, so they can't even tweet about it at the time and be very excited about it, or being consoled by their friends because they can't let the result to be known and blah, blah, blah. So it's a little bit rough. And so ultimately the metagame seemed to be fine. Like the format's not broken. It's
Naya Adventure's most popular deck, White Weenie in there.
Mm-hmm. I heard they were calling it Snow White.
Yep, Snow White is a much better name.
Yeah.
Emergent Ultimatum is a tier 1 strategy.
What a world.
These days. Yeah, look at God, as they say. That's what happens when you have, I guess, Valky and Vorinclex as in your Yorion deck.
Because they go get Kiora Best the Sea God, and they get Vorinclex and they get Valky, and if you give them Vorinclex and Valky, then Valky turns over and ultimates immediately because Vorinclex doubles it.
Or they just go get the Time Walk with 2 birds.
Right.
So there's a bunch of cool stuff.
There's a bunch of really awesome ways you can destroy people. So,
and it's like the best way. It's the best shell for Binding of the New Gods. You get to use Yorion in interesting, creative ways. But anyway, the metagame seems balanced, and it seems like a good time to be in Standard. Unfortunately, the format of the format of the tournament and the tournament series,
the league,
is not popular.
Right. Go ahead.
We've seen a number of reasons why the pros involved are not having a good time. LSV had tweeted that, the number of weekends involved is too many, that it's 7 weekends, which is a lot. You have people like Marcio Carvalho and Andre Strasky that are really just feeling the isolation of it. They're like, I am playing alone at home in front of people on a 10-minute delay. You have nobody to do your bad beat stories with. You have nobody to decompress with afterwards.
Right.
You're not feeling that energy because you can't really interact with your chat. So it's a really just sort of sterile, quiet experience. And they're literally just watching you play for your livelihood. Like, it's almost masochistic in a way of, we're just watching you because if you don't do well, you could lose your slot. And so,
and for many, this is their livelihood.
Yeah, and so it's very stressful, and there were a surprising number of people after it was over that were like, we're not enjoying ourselves here, and we really wish the format would change somehow.
And that 10-minute delay is so weird on your psyche as a human, because you have to wait for them to see your reality. It's a very strange world to live in.
Oh, I can only imagine. And Nick Shirillo here had tweeted, I, for one, am shocked that pro players don't have fun playing in tournaments where when you do poorly, you lose your job, and when you do well, your reward is playing in the same tournament next year.
Right. I mean,
you having fun yet? You ready to do it again next year?
That's just what a job is, right?
Like, it's true.
Well, I mean,
but it's not a cool job, Ruben.
It's not a cool job. No,
super sweet.
I think it's a valid concern.
It is a valid concern. It just isn't. You're right that it doesn't give you the glamour that the old Pro Tour or even the original Players Tour felt like.
Right.
Where it's like you win, you get the confetti, you get the trophy, you can live on your laurels for a little bit. Now it's like, all right, good job out there, killer.
Right. I mean, Autumn Burchett says here, it's not that you're playing for your livelihood. It's that everyone gets to see every decision involved in you playing for your livelihood. They're going to see your emotional responses when you make mistakes or get unlucky or just lose. And I mean, this whole thing, and again, this your reward is let's do it again in 2022.
Right. Yeah. It's that fishbowl feeling, like Autumn said, is you're in this weird fishbowl. I think that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the pressure of this, after a while, I mean, as we've seen, the pressure of just hanging out your house every day and going nowhere can build over time. And these competitors can only take so much until it, and
it doesn't take much to fall off. There are people who were in prior leagues that we don't talk about anymore.
Right.
So it can just happen overnight.
Right. And it just feels like we're getting so much closer. And, we'll get back to it again, but we're getting, I guess, so far away, rather, than, the clear, this is how I get to this magical pro league. This is how I go from person who learned what Magic is yesterday to I now understand what it would take to play alongside LSV in the league. And I feel like that path has now, gone into some mist, and somewhere above that is the MPL. And you got to go through that mist, which includes streaming, which includes social media, which includes
I definitely
work.
think the days of an LSV type career are just sort of over with, where the path to get there is no longer there, the longevity of it is no longer there. We're just not seeing people with the longevity. I hate to be redundant, that we saw with the Darwin Castles, the Kai Budes, where you're still talking about them 10, 15 years later. It does feel like this new crop, we may not be talking about in even 5 years, where it just feels like that's the churn of it all, and the establishing of them is just not the same.
And the barrier for entry is so much higher. I mean, you need a stable internet connection, a good computer, enough money to put into Arena in order to get to the base level of investment that you can even begin to pretend to be successful. And at that point, you can then try to win games of Magic. Whereas back in the day, all you needed to do was show up, pay your entry fee, and now you're in the sealed PTQ.
I think it also exacerbates the issue of, one of the concerns I've had is you don't really have anybody to root for. The character building isn't there. You can't exactly build a character on a 10-minute delay. You can't show people who you are. You can't interact with your chat. That's another area that suffers when you're put in this goldfish bowl.
But Granada brings up a good point in the chat. What is the incentive for Wizards to change? What is the incentive?
There isn't. I mean,
the money isn't in.
Hold on a second. I'm not sure if they're asking about incentives. For me, it's what is the logic behind all of this from Wizards' perspective. For me, this is marketing. This is a good old-fashioned marketing budget. Sure. That's all it's being spent. That's where it's coming from in terms of corporate on the books. This is a marketing expense. Grand Prix prizes, marketing expense. It's
marketing, and it's so grandfathered into Magic culture that you would never dream. Wizards would never dream of putting out a statement saying we are done. GPs are gone, Pro Tours are gone. They might technically be gone, but they would never just pull the plug like that.
They would never say the quiet part out loud.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But I don't think that... How do I word this? I don't think that the... So I think that the pro scene would suffer if the current system stays the way it is, and because of how bad it feels.
The pro scene is suffering, is what I would argue.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually, people will leave the pro scene, and their marketing budget is going to go to nothing. So there is some incentive to keep people happy.
Right. Now, what I would note to Granada there, they say, how does this make them more money that helps them make records amount of money? It doesn't. And
it doesn't.
And I feel like that's part of what this sort of great awakening over the last year is that organized play is not driving these sales. Organized play is not where the standard average Magic player is paying attention to. They're not doing that. This is the Invisibles. The Invisibles play Commander. The Invisibles play around the kitchen table. And the Invisibles, ladies and gentlemen, have won. All the people who care about the Pro Tour have lost. I'm telling you, you are in a losing position right now. At this point, you are begging Wizards to give you marketing dollars in when I can show you metrics, we've seen them this entire time. The metrics for the MPL have sucked every single time they've not been bought and paid for. Every single time. This to me says, why would we ever bring back these large competitive events? Let, the cool stuffs, let the Star Cities, let the CFBs make their own events. There's nothing wrong with that. There's still a chunk of Magic players that love that stuff. But it's not that's going to take this company to $1 billion plus. $1 billion plus is more Commander Legends, more more collector's boxes, more secret layers, more Double Master stuff, more collector's products for the whales that love that stuff, and that's what they've been doing, and they've been very successful at it.
Lest we forget, the competitive scene was dying before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So. It wasn't doing great. No, I mean, the numbers were going down. But again, there was money to be made. It's not like there wasn't money being made between all of these companies. There's a reason all those people showed up, and there's a reason people had a plenty, good time at GP Vegas or wherever.
They're just min-maxing at this point.
But that is, that's this little tiny slice of what is ultimately Magic the Gathering, and they've just decided, we're going to pay attention to the big slice. And the big slice says, Debalt's Trickery is a stupid card, which should probably not even be in Standard, but it's a hell of a good Commander card, so deal with it. That's kind of where we're at, it feels like. And we've kind of went round and round on that for about a year now, and I'm just like, gosh, it was so eye opening. You can't imagine. For me to go from a mindset of like constructed Magic matters to constructed Magic does not matter. It doesn't. I hope you're having fun. I hope you like your standard format. You enjoy collecting 4 copies of everything there, buddy. Aren't you glad they picked 4 back in the day and not 3 or something? But at the end of the day, Commander's all that they really care about because that's what sells, and that's why Foreign Collects is a $40 card, and you can't play it in an event right now.
I hope they send Sheldon Menery a check every year.
Big,
just to be like, thanks for inventing Commander.
At least some product. The Commander deck or something. All right. Are there any of these splash damage topics you guys would like to cover or touch on?
You just skipped over the esports.
We discussed that in the pre-show of the top 10s. I don't know if you wanted to run that one again.
Yes! We should run it, probably, because it was a thing.
All right, Aaron, you love it. Go.
I do. So Magic Esports, the Magic Esports account stepped in it the other day.
There we go.
They attempted to make a joke where they had posted a tweet on February 26th that said, "Why are Tron players the way that they are?" That was the tweet. And that led to a whole bunch of responses. And inevitably, one person who appears to be an Eldrazi Tron player had kind of called them out and said, "Why are you doing this?" or something to that effect, to which the Magic Esports account then quote tweeted them and said, "We found the Tron player." And this opened up a floodgate of comments and was just sort of the drama of the day, where you had people that felt like, this was a joke that maybe had just been taken too far. Some people didn't even see the joke. Some people genuinely felt like discriminated against based on their deck choices, which if you've ever experienced like true discrimination based on like your gender, your weight, your sexuality, you'll understand the difference. I promise you. And it was just, the fuss of the day. And then ultimately they ended up posting an apology. They attempted to reach out to the person that they had dunked on because that person had to lock their accounts. But it just led to this interesting discussion as to, why certain archetypes have the reputations that they do. Is that something that we should be perpetuating? There was also some talk of like the Wendy's effect on community management. Is there such a thing as kind of going too far? Should they even be going down that road? Just a lot to talk about, really.
Ruben, okay, you've been paid American currency to tell jokes.
Yeah.
Where is this lying on you on that field?
So this was a very interesting case study, and I first of all would encourage you to go listen to the Good Luck High Five discussion on this, because when it comes to people who do comedy for professional reasons, they have a very good take on this as well. I'll give you my take. My take is, was the tweet a problem? No. The initial tweet of "Why are Tron players the way they are" was a take on a meme from a corporate account that I think was a funny concept. Was the response of "found the Tron player" funny? Yes, but
I laughed.
temper that with, it was funny, but temper that with, you have to understand the pedestal and the loudspeaker that you have and who you're responding to. Had it, let's say that the tweet had been, why are Dredge players the way they are? And then Erin had responded in a similar manner, and then the account said, found the Dredge player. That would have been okay because Erin is at least a known figure in the Magic community.
Has owned
Not
it.
a person
Right.
who has 50 followers and doesn't deserve this kind of backlash. Right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I found it fascinating, particularly for that reason, because, I know as a Dredge player that I am doing nothing fair. And so when somebody makes a joke about Dredge, or even when we're at a tournament and we hear somebody complaining about Dredge, I understand why they feel that way, because there are certain hands and certain games where if you are my opponent, you're literally not playing Magic this game. And so I understand that I'm doing broken things, and I have the self-awareness to know that and to be able to laugh at myself. And there were other Tron players that were like, we get it, we're monsters too. And so the fact that somebody could look at their deck choice and genuinely be like, I don't see the problem here. First off, you want to make 7 mana on turn 3, which alone defies the rules of conventional Magic.
True.
And then you want to pour that 7 mana into Karn Liberated, where you're probably going to lock someone out of the game. If you can't see that, if you don't have the self-awareness to see that and to see why people might have a problem with that, I really don't know what to tell you. And I think on a larger scale, I might get in trouble for this, but I'm going to do this. That self-awareness has also bled into Commander, which is what's going on right now with that power level discussion, where you have people out there that are like, my deck's a 4, and it's like, your deck's a 7. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with 7s, and there's nothing wrong with playing Tron, and there's nothing wrong with playing Dredge, but own your bullshit. I'm sorry for swearing, but just own your bullshit. That's all you got to do.
Agree.
And just to see these people that will look at you starry-eyed and be like, I don't understand the problem. What?
So here's what I would say. This is how it could have went. Okay, they could have said that, why are you this way? And if it had been Cardboard Crack, responding with a comic that talked about being a Tron player, and they said found the Tron player, that would have went over 100%. No one would have said a thing. This wouldn't even be a discussion right now.
Or if the tweet had come from a non-corporate account, if it had come from Athena or Rachel or whoever
somebody,
else.
Yeah.
And side note, Athena plays Tron.
Right. That's
Athena's family. She gets it.
Yeah.
She does. So
that's the big punchline here. This is a weird case study in social media gone weird. Not wrong,
right? Not
well, but weird.
But also,
and people also taking themselves too seriously, and not even themselves, but choices that they've made. Especially don't identify yourself. Maybe don't take deck choices as personally as it would hurt your soul to see this joke. Erin would get this joke.
We shouldn't
and play along.
Let's not take life too seriously. Just in period.
Well, and I think it also like you mentioned, Ruben, the identity discussion was really interesting, and just being able to compartmentalize. Where I know if somebody is not happy that they've lost to my deck, I know that it has nothing to do with me. That they're not mad at me per se. They didn't have a very good time against my deck, and so you have to be able to separate that, especially if you are going to play a deck like Lantern Control or Tron or something that does have a reputation of being the boogeyman. You can't go into these decks and take that personally. They're not mad at you. They're mad at Golgari Grave Troll. They're mad at Lantern of Insight. You've got to be able to separate the two. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to move on.
Right. You just got to say the Tron players who hurt you. Just who did it.
You need Jesus.
Okay. Now, would you like to discuss anything in splash damage?
The only thing I found...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, the only thing I found particularly interesting is there was an article published on PCGamer.com that was this expose about racism in the top end of World of Warcraft raiding guilds. And I'm just very interested to see these exposés coming out, because I raided pretty seriously back in the day. When I retired from World of Warcraft, I was in a US Top 200 guild, and I know what those environments were like, and I know what kind of behavior I enabled and I didn't say anything about. And so to see these stories coming out that those of us have already known about, I was very enthralled by that and hit very close to home to me. And, it's just weird to see all of this sort of being this darkness being brought into the light, because it was always like that. Like, it was just what you had to do, or what we thought we had to do to get purples. And
a lot of this comes to some stuff that I heard a long time ago when I was a kid, and it was damn good advice then. It's pretty good advice now. Don't ever write anything in the chat window. Don't ever write any email that you would not be okay with on the front page of your local newspaper. And I assure you, as long as you follow that rule, you'll be in pretty good spaces. Now, sometimes you vary between the people you trust and don't trust and stuff, but again, most of the time, particularly anywhere you describe as public, Lord, just imagine it could be anywhere, and don't write anything stupid and you'll never have any problems with it. I mean, it's weird how that works out. I mean, you just don't say stuff and you won't have a problem.
Well, it was a different time, certainly not to defend the behavior, but, we were still at that point of internet culture where it felt edgy and people didn't really realize that their words meant anything. You're so used to being around avatars and faceless voices that you just feel like your words don't have any impact, and you can sort of make the jokes that you make. And, we all put up with it for a really long time because we felt like we didn't have a choice. And, we're getting to the point now where it's like, you should be able to raid and be successful and also be discerning with who you do it with. And, you shouldn't have to put up with rape jokes just because you want a good, armor rating or you want the status or whatever.
Right.
So the news thing I wanted to touch on was that Magic the Gathering was a Jeopardy question.
I saw that, yeah.
Cool. Richard Garfield gathered his wits to create this 1993 fantasy card game. Luckily, they got it right.
I was going to say, did they actually get that?
They got it right. Oh, and this was on last Friday's episode. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's always neat when Magic crosses over into the mainstream. Like when Black is Magic was discussed on NPR this week. There was a brief interview.
Speaking of Black is Magic, there's this amazing Teferi cosplayer who I've seen on Twitter a lot lately. And I don't know if we have access to his handle right now, but follow him, support him. I think he's also posted a couple of TikToks. Just a brilliant guy. And I hope to see more from him in the future. And it was also great to see all the other Magic cosplayers that were like, hang out with us, like work with us, like, really looking to support him. And we have just some of the best cosplayers out there. And so I hope that he becomes a part of their pack and we see more from them.
This is Teferi Magic is the Twitter account. All one word, Teferi Magic. So,
and it's funny because I think there was a Reddit post where like he did a photo shoot on a beach and somebody like made a Reddit and was like, so there's this random Teferi on the beach, and he's like, yeah, that's me.
It's a great costume. Absolutely terrific. Yeah.
Spectacular. Yeah.
All right. So let's turn the corner here to the finisher. This week is Time Spiral Remastered, and it's got a lot of us old hats nostalgic. We have, I clicked on something there. Sorry. We have reprints Old Borders, that shiny star on the foils. But tell me, what's something from Magic's past you'd like to see make a comeback, Erin?
Well, old planes become new again. Is this a joke on my jacket?
I mean,
it's not, but now it is.
It's true.
We don't read the jokes until we do them.
We don't.
Old planes become new again when you go back to them, and some of those returns are better than others. But some planes don't get a fair shake when their first visits aren't so spectacular, but the stories are spectacular. And with the focus on the esports aspect of the game, I'm excited for the first time since 1997, we go back to Chandalar, and the best Magic video game of all time gets its fair shake.
Very nice. Very nice.
I would watch the crap out of some Chandalar 2020 streams. Or 2077. Let's get Chandalar Cyberpunk.
Oh my God, man. Ruben?
I love me a good real-world flavor text. The old Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and Billy Shake's quotes on core set cards make me feel all warm and fuzzy. So I'm looking forward to when that new Lord of the Rings crossover expansion releases with some of the best quotes in literary history. On double face cards, of course, because we all know there ain't enough room on the front for a whole token quote.
Ha. That would be sweet.
He is a verbose individual.
He writes a lot of words, let me tell you. Well, mana burn, damage on the stack, mana sources, interrupts, no land mulligans, Vancouver mulligans, London mulligans, and of course, batches. Magic's rules have a long and torrid history, but one I would like to see make a comeback would be substance, a keyword that used to only exist for errata in cards like Waylay and other end-of-turn delayed triggers. This is not a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. Because as a newsman, I think we can all agree we all want a little substance in our lives.
I'd never heard of that.
It was
substance, weird. Yeah, that was a weird one. So there was an exploit that you would used to use with the card Waylay that made knight tokens that you sacrificed at the end of the turn, but if you cast them after end of turn triggers resolved, you would effectively get 3 2/2 knights that could attack the next turn. Right. So they put substance on certain cards like that so that you couldn't do that anymore. And then since they've updated how the rules work, so that you don't need substance anymore, but...
Right. There used to be a time like in between turns where things could happen, and it got weird.
Got very strange.
It got really weird. Well, that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
We're going to move on here to our final slide. Let's see where it is. Right. Where'd it go? Right there.
Professional podcast.
Professional. Wow. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and our newest sponsor, Alter Sleeves. Get yours at altersleeves.com/magicmics. My co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.